Hello and welcome to Rise. I have such a beautiful woman on this session today, and her name is Dana Dharma Devi, and she has been involved in the global breathwork community for over 40 years as a certified clarity breathwork trainer and practitioner, inspirational master teacher and guide. She's also certified by the ARTI, Association of Rebirthers and Trainers International, and the former LRT, Loving Relationships Training, as well as Condor Blanco in Chile, a holistic and ecological mystery school. She's the co-founder and co-pioneer of Clarity Breathwork and Clarity Productions, producing seminars, retreats around the globe, and has been guiding and holding space and healing thousands of people that have been touched by the power of Clarity Breathwork. And she has led Clarity Breathwork at many conscious festivals worldwide. Dana is also an international recording artist and gifted fluist, kirtan chant leader with several CDs, both solo and in collaboration with other major artists. She has been featured workshop leader at Shakti and Bhakti Festival yearly. Welcome, 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 Dana.
Thank you so much. Honored to be here, sweetheart, and so beautiful to be in your divine presence.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. So I just want to share with you guys that Dana has been my guide and teacher in the Clarity Breathwork journey. She has been facilitated my journey unfolding when I went through the training and had to process a lot of my own stuff, and her presence, her loving kindness, her heart is just so amazing that I had to share it with you.
Mm. Thank you for having me so much. And I wanted just to say that it's an honor to see you have grown wings and just flown in this magnificent way, you and your family. And it's really exciting to see your book and the rise of your book and all the amazing speakers that you've had. And so I'm just so proud of you, Nanisi, just so incredibly proud of what you've accomplished and how radiant you are. So it's an honor to be with you.
Oh, my
Yeah.
sweetheart, I love you so much. Thank you, thank you. And I really have not met many people that have the heart and the gentleness and the kindness that Dana had. And I want to share with you her magic today, and her wisdom and her beautiful, beautiful energy. And I know that Dana also wants to do an heart invocation with her masterful skills in playing the flute. So how about we start with that, because that is such an heart opening, um, that we can flow then into the conversation.
Sure. So the flute, I would just say, I probably will start with a Hawaiian flute since I'm on the island of Maui, and prayers for Maui because apparently we have a tsunami coming in a few hours. So this is how the power of the breath works, that you can just take a deep breath and surround yourself in safety and breathe out any fear. So in the moment where something is arising like that. So I want to just bring in an evocation to help open our hearts, whatever we're processing, what any of us have going on, at the tsunami in our lives. Then so there may be something, a loss or a fear or another level of goodness. So that we have four chambers in our hearts, and the flute is the greatest instrument. Hazrat Inayat Khan, great Sufi master, has spoken of this, that the flute is the greatest instrument to open the heart. And this particular instrument is a Hawaiian nose flute made by my Hawaiian master, Anthony Navidad. And he um, he instructed that the Hawaiians exchange, the kahunas, the great master teachers, exchange nostril breath. And you can say something negative with your nose I mean, with your mouth, but never with your nose. So the point is that it's very pure sound. So just listen to the sound and feel what's in your own heart, what's reverberating. So just set an intention of whatever you're passing through. May our hearts open wide to really deeply listen and drop in. Stay in your heart. I'm going to switch flutes. They all have a power and a majesty to them. And feel what is reverberating in you, perhaps placing a hand on your heart. And we'll connect with Haleakala, the great magnificent crater that is right in front of me. And the ocean is also right here, mountains and ocean. And taking a deep breath, and maybe two or three. And just feeling what's there, that your own heart may be wanting you to know. Certainly, if it's from your heart, it's always something pure and simple. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for that. That is such a heart opening. I don't know if you can feel, but I certainly feel it vibrating in every cell of my body, and really a feeling of integrating myself into my heart. And that's so beautiful. It's landing home.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, honey.
Mm.
My honor. And yeah, the heart is a place of, it's the center chakra between all of them. It's right there. And if our heart is closed, then how can we really heal from whatever it is that we have going on? So it's a way to open. And whenever we're really attuned and listening, when I'm playing, I often look in the audience and people are just touching their hearts and they're just, so when we do that, it's just natural for us to feel more love.
Mm.
And with love, all things can be healed by the power of our love.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And so many of us had to place armors around the heart, right, to protect, which is
Yeah.
really a survival mechanism. So it's not a bad thing when it happens. It's there as a layer of protection. But then comes a time when we can melt that armor. We don't need it anymore. We are adults. We are safe. And I know that the work that you do, I mean, I've watched you so many times holding space for so many people. Um, when that armor really melts and there's a crack, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. There's a crack in the protection. There's like underneath our fear, our perhaps our anger, our resentment out there. Underneath that is our vulnerability, right? And under at the hurt that we felt, and we don't want people to see that because it wasn't safe in the past to expose and to be heard, and maybe we were ridiculed. And so under if we are willing to create a safe and sacred space, that's the beauty of all these profound healers that you have coming on your show, and on your summit, and revealing what they did. And for me, it's a matter of seeing who the person really is underneath the armor, and seeing, like, for me, Jesus was a teacher for sure of mine, as well as many other teachers. But one of the things that he did was he saw the blind man as able to see, and in his presence the blind man could see. So my job is to hold space for the person's wholeness, that I really see who they are beneath the pain, beneath the armoring, and underneath that, of course, the vulnerability, and underneath that, pure love in every cell of our bodies. So I always trust it's not me, the great healer, but it's my ability to work I do therapy, receive therapy, I do breath work, and do a lot of chanting and prayers and going. I just spent 10 days in a jungle, remote area of Maui, and just taking sanctuary in the waterfalls, and just sitting by the ocean, and so listening to birds and watching rainbows. And that speaks to my heart. And as I surrender and see that there's always another level to love in myself, and the more I love myself, the more others can love themselves in my presence. And so it's that place of seeing the wholeness of the other beneath the armor, and then bring that out. But you cannot tell someone. It's a discovery that through the practice of breath work, through the practice of inquiry, and it's the gentleness, giving room and space for the person to feel deeply what is there. So that means an embrace of perhaps anger, and an embrace of their really intense no, and letting the heart crack open, stay open, and then keep breathing and seeing. And what I find is the breath always, I've watched people that in the most intense suffering, maybe not even wanting to be alive anymore, and yet they breathe. And then it's just the power of the breath, and you holding the space of knowing that their breath is enough, and their love is enough, and your love is enough, and your breath is enough. The simplicity of that. And suddenly they say, I'm opening, I'm shifting. And again, I've seen eyes that are perhaps light blue that have turned black out of fear. It's amazing that pupils can really show so much, especially in light colored eyes. Um, and and suddenly they turn to clear, like crystal clear water, and they look and they're like, I'm safe, I'm remembering. It's really an invitation. The breath helps us to it invites us and helps us to remember who we are, who we've always been.
Mm,
And we can never truly lose it. It's the fear that's in the way. And
mm,
sometimes it's only a few thoughts away and a few breaths away.
mm. I love
Mm,
that. Yeah, a few births
mm,
away. And yeah, I almost feel like you midwife in this process of rebirth, right? Because I've seen people literally having a rebirthing experience
mm-hmm.
where they either go through their physical birth and heal the
Yeah,
trauma associated with that. Because so
yeah,
many of us, especially in our generation, in the past few generations, have been born in traumatic circumstances, in hospital environment, very medicated. So I
yeah,
have seen that happening many times. Or
mm-hmm.
a spiritual birth, birthing into themselves, into their
Yeah,
their higher, more whole um, inner self. So Yeah, would you talk a little bit about the birth trauma? Because we haven't touched that, and I feel that this is really our first entry, our first rite
Yeah.
of passage.
Right. So our birth script, we say, includes our conception messages we received right at conception. If parents were in love, or mother was trying to trap the father, or it was unconscious, or there was, drugs or alcohol involved, it was just unconscious. And you were in an accident. So there's already, or they wanted you so much. Perhaps they wanted you to save the marriage, so there's a lot encoded in conception, if
Mhm.
especially like one in we used to say 1 in 5 babies, but it's actually even higher. Many babies are accidental, so they're
Mhm.
not planned, and many are not are unwanted.
Mhm.
And so right there from the conception, it's like, oh my God, a shock to the mother. And how did she feel when she told your father, or and then told if you were, born out of wedlock? And it was, there's so many. Nowadays doesn't matter, but back then it did. And so sometimes there's a lot of hiding and shame involved, and an affair and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot can be encoded from conception, messages in the womb, as you see, and then also the delivery itself. So people look at the delivery or after, but it's pre-verbal decisions. So we don't even know how mother felt really supported, because she doesn't usually talk about it while you were in the womb. Did they have to move? Did your mother and father get along? Were they in love? And were your siblings welcoming? Or did they have to move? Did they have enough money? Or was it wartime? So there were a lot of messages there of the inner environment of safety and support and connection. And was mother taking the time to really take care of herself and nurture herself? So, there, all of that, we are resilient. All of that can be healed with a gentle and caring and nurturing environment. But I have seen, because I worked in the fashion movie industry for many years, and I've seen the most beautiful, incredible women, perfectly sculpted, and really, stars, and yet they had such an imprint of they weren't enough. And where did that come from? Right there, for most of us, the cord was cut too soon. There wasn't, and our imagined separation from the divine, which is breath work, really does help that. If we knew we were connected with infinite intelligence, infinite divine grace, would we really have a problem if we really knew that? Probably not. But most of us, the cord was cut so soon. That's our first separation, where that first breath was a gagging for our life, and tongue upside down and spanked for many. And that's a kind of a normal birth. And it doesn't even include the uh, cord around the neck, or induced or forcepted, or breech baby, all those kinds of things. So again, it's not to make the doctors wrong or the parents. It's that uh, we weren't really educated to understand that these first imprints, since this is what it took for me to be alive, I need that to survive. And we recreate traumatic experiences. And say if you were forcepted, it's very often that life is a headache. It's like,
Mm.
and I see so much when I have clients that were forceptive, for example. They hold their head, they have life is really difficult, and they just know they're processing something, and that they're upset because they didn't get to do things on their own time, and yet they create being rescued. So it's not as much what happened, but the decisions that we make. One forceps baby, for example, might decide, I'm loved and I'll always be, rescued no matter what. I always get what I need. And another feels interrupted and doesn't trust support, because support was painful, and they can be really angry. So, we can't say it's across the board, but it's really a discovery between you and clients, that people that feel drawn to breath work. Many had some form of birth trauma. And I want to just also add that, and the first experience of support, the authority figure, the obstetrician and the delivery team, that has a lot to do with how you allow yourself to be supported in life. And there are also many gifts with birth, so many. Like if you're fast, you get what you want, or there was a celebration. But for some of us, there were mixed messages, that initially it was a shock, but then you were so celebrated and so wanted. And I had a client the other day, and she was her first, like her mother was quite a bit older, and there were already 8 children. Yeah. And so the children were like so embarrassed that mother was pregnant now at 48 years old, and it was like considered like, oh my God. And so they were so upset. And then so she had mixed messages, and then when she came out, they all fell in love with her. She nobody could get enough of her. So it's like, we may recreate a similar situation again, because we think that we need that to be alive, but we can breathe that out. We can see how, oh, I have recreated my relationships to be that way, or I don't trust men. And if you were, hurt by the obstetrician or pulled out. I think Sylvester Stallone is a good, from the movie Rocky. I don't know if you saw it, but he was a forceps baby, and he was grabbed by, he had a forceps injury. And because of his injury and his scar, that he actually became quite famous and made a fortune from his movies and being a fighting star. So we can make the best of it. And also I want to add one last piece on that, is that if you were wanted for the opposite sex, then if they preferred a boy, then no matter what you do, no matter how many skills you have as a woman, it's like it's never going to be enough. And so we have to then see how that's affected us, take a look, and then turn that around to see, hey, wait a minute. They would have preferred a boy, but it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with me. I'm actually incredibly valuable and powerful and wonderful as a woman. So, all things can be healed by the power of our love. And
Absolutely. And
you
yeah,
of all people know
yeah,
that.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I witnessed that in action so many times, and I
Yeah.
was constantly in awe and amazed by the sharings of the people, when they all of a sudden connected all the dots and all of a sudden saw this pattern, this unconscious pattern that keeps again and again perpetuating their life, and all of a sudden
Yeah.
they make that link that it actually has to do with the birth or conception, or
Yeah.
they can see clearly that one thread that runs through all their choices and decisions and actions. And when
Hmm.
they see that thread and it becomes clear, well, then they shine the light of their awareness, and then they can
Yeah.
um, just by the power of their awareness can change that and reprogram that. And
Right.
really, yeah, as you said, the great news is that everything can be healed. And I think
Hmm.
this is really the main message of this whole summit, is that nothing is a death sentence. Nothing
Right.
is have been carved in stone and there forever. We are forever changing, transforming, growing, evolving. And it's really when we are coming with our willingness, when we come in with
Yeah.
our choice, then we don't wait for chance, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And
and
to
yeah.
question our beliefs, like
Mm-hmm.
if you were made wrong, of like you shouldn't have even been conceived, and that because it was the wrong time for the family, they didn't have enough money, say it was after war, like in my family, that it was already like, oh, so I decided I was a burden. And so how many times do we carry that forward until we see, like, this is something I came to believe, and so it's not even anybody else thinking that, but we then once we forgive ourselves for for having that expectation, and then setting up others, because everybody's our mirror, right? So then we say, oh yeah, this is how I'm going to be treated, and we expect that. So when we forgive ourselves for expecting to be treated that way, that and we're actually the ones that are treating that ourselves that way. Did we really love ourselves as little younger, children? Did we really look in the mirror and say, I'm wonderful and beautiful? Yes, because of how we were treated, possibly by one or two parents, or or in school. But it's really us that carries that forward, and we have to go back for that little one, whether it was the little baby or the younger 3-year-old or 5-year-old, moments where we came to believe that we were worthless or wrong, or that we were that we would never be really wanted, that it was our job to please others. And then we forget ourselves, and we don't even honor ourselves, like we don't matter. So, as simple as that sounds, it's actually quite, it takes time, but I also believe in the holy instant, because it's the moment that we wake up and we say, oh, I see that. What if I just don't need to keep doing that over and over again? We don't have to, and it's like the moment of opportunity when we catch ourselves, that that's the moment to love ourselves even more, to turn around and look at ourselves with eyes of love.
Right. And in that moment, there is expansion that is even bigger than what we were before, because now there is more wisdom, there is more love, there is more depth, right? More compassion.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting because we are, I mean, as far as I know, we're aging.
Says Dana. Okay, let's just stop right there. I just want to share with you guys that Dana is how old?
So it's hard for me to say. I'll be 69 August 19th, so I'm not quite 69, but I'll be 69. And I do have a 97-year-old father who is thriving and beautiful. He still has dark hair, and he's very handsome and works in the garden, and everybody adores him. So he's an inspiration. But I have to say that it isn't genes necessarily. It's the love that we receive, the loving kindness. And I want to say that, like, recently, somebody I know who's a dancer, an incredible dancer, she posted about her famous psychologist aunt, who made a movie about basically the Holocaust, and how she survived. And it was like I had to write on it because I felt compelled, because my parents lived through those dark times. But what they came away with, generosity of spirit and loving kindness.
Mm, mm,
So they've been my, as much as I've been to the far ends of the earth to find my gurus and teachers and shamans. Uh, my parents were really, and still are, my greatest teachers, because I know what they lived through, and I know what they came to share and to really give lovingly to everyone. And so I think that's what I was going to say. We age, but actually we're getting wiser, and in a way more beautiful, because our hearts become more pure. And so maybe our eyes, like, I love this, something I read once. It's like the most beautiful eyes are ones that look for the beauty in others.
mm, mm,
It's like to see into someone else's eyes, to see into, it's like I was on the beach tonight before this interview, and it was dark, and I was by the ocean, listening to the ocean. And I looked up and I saw the stars, and I was like, I knew everybody on the beach left but me. But the safety of the beauty of the night canopy and the stars, it's like once we feel our connection with our in love inside of us, right? And then infinite intelligence, grace, God, whatever we want to call it. And then it's like we feel connection with everyone, like the stars, the moon. Where are you in South Africa? Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
And it doesn't matter. We're so connected. it's like we've never been apart. You know, it's like it's a
Yeah, and
such a
you are such a walking, talking inspiration of the ageless goddess, right? So
mm.
I just wanna take a moment and reflect that back to you, and I hope that our audience can get inspired by your grace and by your yeah, just ageless beauty. It spins that whole aging process into such a different
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah,
And
it's
that's
fun.
besides seeing you doing splits, eh? I must say that that Dana also does splits.
Well, I can, it's not that it's a perfect split. I do it, and it just came like, like a kid doing cartwheels in the schoolyard. It's like just jumping in the air and landing in the splits. It's the jumping in the air and landing in the splits. And it's funny because it's funny you say that because I hadn't done that in so long because we've all been in COVID and not being in public so much. But we would do a beach dance here, in Maui. And so I thought, what an opportunity. It's not marble like it was in Osha Hall, but it was on the sand. And so I was like, okay. And it was so fun. I was like, oh, it's so much softer on the sand. But it had been a year and a half. So I found that it's still within me. And, I have to say that an inspirational person that I saw once, her video, and it showed this woman, 90 something, maybe 99. She's still teaching yoga, 90 something, and she's in a perfect split. So now mine was imperfectly perfect, but she was in a perfect splits, like side, this way, like full on. And she said, yes, I started yoga when I was 85. And I was like, I thought I was doing well. And it's, 69. And she said, yeah, and I've started violin as well. And I started learning Italian and Italian cooking, last year. And so she said, yeah, I have some arthritis. Does it stop me? Absolutely not. So it's to keep going. And I want to return to, like, thank you for that acknowledgement. I received that. And you're such a beauty, and you keep getting more beautiful every minute. And so that's wonderful and inspirational to see. And I think when we live our passion and we do what we came here to do, and we don't hold back, no matter if we have 3 children, 5 children, 10 children, you know, uh, we're missing a limb. It doesn't matter. One of my favorite yoga teachers currently is missing an arm, and she still, props up. She's missing part of, up to here, and actually hers was birth trauma because the umbilical cord wrapped around her arm, and in it, she lost part of the arm. Yeah, and yet she didn't let it stop her, and she teaches perfect yoga, and she just puts up she uses weights, and she uses blocks there to prop her arm up, and she's just strong and vital and amazing. Her name is Hannah. So I just see that nothing has to stop us, no matter what we have, and to not give up, and also to not judge ourselves if we have stopped, if we've become depressed. It's because we're believing something that is no longer serving us, believing, doing, or saying something that is harming us. And once we take a few deep breaths, I like to say that we can save a marriage, a relationship, a career, just by taking a few deep breaths. Because when we do that, we suddenly lose our position, our I'm right and they are wrong, and saying something really cruel and mean that we don't mean, in our protection. We were talking about the armoring. But if we take a few breaths, it has the power to really set us free, and to then come from a more balanced place, instead of you're wrong and I'm right, and self-righteousness. So I think that from that place, we can have such a better world, that we couldn't help but share and care about each other.
Mm,
It's what else is life for?
mm. Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. You were talking about when we are aligned with our passion, when we do what we love, then
Yeah,
spirit flows through us, and actually spirit makes us shine from the inside out. And this is beauty, right? It does not
yeah,
matter what is the shape of your nose, the size of your hips, the color of your hair. It doesn't matter. It's the beauty, the aliveness of spirit that makes your soul shine outward. And that's beauty. That's real beauty,
yeah.
right?
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. And yeah, seeing the beauty in ourselves and in others, and
Mm.
just being willing to share no matter what. Then nothing stops us, and uh, we don't give up. We just keep going for it, and then following one thread of our passion, something we love leads to another and another and another, and it just keeps opening all the doors,
Mm.
as you know, right?
Mhm.
And even the very thing that that we our challenge, like one woman that Shana and I are in this beautiful course together, right? And the women rocking business. And
Mhm.
it's it's another level of coming out there, going out there, and it's new and different for me. But I want to say that one woman that while she was doing her big launch, she found out that her husband had cancer. Something else went wrong. Her mother died, or big, two really big things. And in the midst of it, she had this huge launch. Well, she just used that to completely use that medicine, her trauma, her intensity that was going on. How can she do this? How can she not do it? So she brought that medicine into her work, and it was a hugely successful event that she did. She was just following her passion, her guidance, and people loved her for being real and authentic.
Mhm.
And then it was immensely healing. And then on top of it, like, we got to see her, what she was doing. On top of it, then she donated all this money because of the big success to Nepalese children that had lost their family members. So
Mm.
it was like, it's just like, when we share our gifts, then we have more than enough to share with others and give generously, in all kinds of directions that that really could use our support. So it's an honor.
I love that. I really feel that we all are alchemists, and we have that ability, if we choose so, to transform, to alchemize, any metal, any unvalued metal into gold. And this is really the work of the alchemist, and using life events, because challenges are always there. Life will
Yeah.
never, ever
Yeah.
be free of challenges, just the reality of it,
Yeah.
on a personal level, on a collective level. And if we change our perception that it's not there against us, life is not there to harm us, it's quite the opposite. It's there to teach us. It's there um, to evolve us to the highest version of us, and to the highest of our soul yearning. Then we can use what happens as a fuel, or we can use it as a stepping stone to go even higher.
Exactly.
So yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
completely, this is really my message, is that once you transform trauma, you thrive, because
Mm-hmm.
you almost, through the process, you receive keys that will unlock your inner doors of greatness,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes,
This
exactly.
is
I watched a documentary of Gabor Mate, right? Inspirational teacher
Mhm.
and trauma healer, and he was, thriving medical doctor and transformed his life. But when I saw the story of his life, he was it showed his mother giving him on some street in Hungary, like when, during wartime, she gave him to a strange woman in an alley and said, "You have to raise my child now." because I'm going off into a camp or wherever she was going during the war. And she, got him back, but I forgot how long later. But so he had this incredible trauma himself. And through that trauma, he learned how to thrive. And I want to just say that, for me, playing a flute is a big deal because yeah, you might remember, but in 2011, I fell off a very high, 17 cement stairs from a church actually, and really severely damaged my arm and my hand, and it's full of metal. So I was told I could never play again, and I would be disabled for my life. So for me, it was difficult. It wasn't an easy road. It's still not perfect. It still grows the wrong way, but I've never let it stop me. And because of that, I appreciate every note more
Mm,
that I can play. And then I'm able to transmit to people that have been through major accidents or traumas that they can heal anything by the power of their intention, their breath, their love, that we can overcome these things. So I know you've been through a big journey yourself, Nunisi, and so we're living, breathing examples of
mm,
you can do it. And many great teachers have done this and paved the way for us to say, yes, look what I lived through, and not to boast about it or say, oh, poor me, but have compassion. And then what did I come, like you said, the alchemy, what did I come to alchemize and
mm,
turn into gold so that I may share it and
mm.
share my good. Yeah,
Oh, thank you, Dana, for this beautiful conversation. We are coming to the end of this session, and I know that you have a beautiful gift to share with the audience.
I do. Yeah.
Mm.
It's called The Awakening Heart, and it's a CD that I made, and it's soothing, healing, and it's designed specifically to help. I play, about 30 world flutes, and it's designed to help open the heart. And so, I've already spoken about that, but once the heart is open, then there's no stopping us. So it's a gift, and I think that people will find it soothing and healing for
Oh,
their
thank you
journey.
so much. Thank you so
You're
much. It's so
welcome.
exciting. I'm definitely gonna get it. I love your music. It's
Thank
really
you, honey.
transforming. It's soul music. I always, when you play, it's like takes me to meet the angels. I don't know how else to describe it.
Hmm.
Yeah, so thank you for that. And the link will be on this page. So go ahead and get that CD. It's life changing. And
Thank you so much.
and then if people want to work with you, breathe with you, what's the
Yep.
best way to find you?
Clarity.org or www.claritybreathwork.com, info@claritybreathwork.com. And they can find me, and I have lots of trainings coming up, and Shauna's been part of your network as well. I know she's done something, so she's a wonderful colleague of mine, and so we co-teach many things together, and help thousands of people around the world. And it's such an honor to be with you, and to share the gifts that we all have, the continued blessings, and just to say that whatever anyone has going on, that's the listener, that just taking a few deep breaths and always coming back to the breath, whether 9 deep connected breaths or 3.
Mm.
Always brings us home and back into the remembrance, drops us into the now where really all the magic is. Thank you, sweetheart, for
Thank you,
having me.
Dana, so much. Thank you
Hmm.
for being here. Thank you for sharing your beauty and your heart. And
My
blessings on
pleasure.
your journey and prayers for you and for Maui.
Thank you.
Um,
Yeah, I'll let you know.
yeah, please let me know. Oh my goodness. I hope you're
Yeah,
all safe.
yeah. I'll
Mm.
take a look and yes, send loving energy to where you are in the world and our whole beautiful, blessed planet at this time. That we can all use all the help we can get, and that we're already safe and held. So lots of love to you until the next time.
Mm. Ciao.
Love. Ciao, honey. Okay. Lots of love.